Well, spring ball. We are really look forward to getting going and hitting the field. So much of the way we organize our program is we love to have a really, really good session in the weight room for 5 weeks. Then to delve into football pretty good for 4 weeks where you balance football with the weight room, and then work back to the weight room prior to second semester finals. And you look at it. I think really the aims that you have in spring ball include just to embed your system. And there's some tweaks that you make every year. Certainly we're going to have them when we go out there this afternoon. Some things that we're going to look at in a little bit different way, both offensively, defensively, and then in addition to some of the things that we're doing specifically in our punt game. And then the other part is just fundamentally helping guys improve. And, one of the things you'd like to see is, I think, especially for the freshmen, but also for the sophomores, big time for the freshmen, is being able to work through the next 3 weeks as they lead up to recognition here at the academy. So really look forward to this afternoon of practicing. You get 15. The aim is how to make the most of those 15. And we're going to do that. There are some requirements when it comes to an obligation, certain days that have to be in helmets, and some days where you can scrimmage the entire time, other times where it's got to be less than 50% tackling. And so some of the planning in the organization ahead of time is pretty important prior to spring ball. So away we go.
You kind of touched on it right there, but how important, or how do you balance just maintenance with the upperclassmen and new installation with the guys that are still trying to get their footing?
Yeah, probably more than anything else, every single guy needs to make a really good leap fundamentally. There's not one player out there, even if you're a senior and you've played a good bit, especially after you go back and you look at all the cut-ups, which we've done here over the last week and a half as a staff, is showing each guy, hey, you can take a better first step. Bring in your backhand if it's on a block, if it's, in coverage. And I think some of the things that are most evident when you go back and you review the season is fundamentally we have to be better. And just when it comes to execution overall, playing with the right leverage on defense, knowing where your help is, and understanding that quality of instruction and being able to use it, so you can be more productive as a player and collectively as a side of the ball, and then ultimately as a team.
Talking about that fundamental step up, when you look at Donald and Isaiah, is there certain specific things you like to see the quarterback position to take that next level up, or something you want to see in that spring ball?
You do. You look whether it's a little more consistent on the throws. And I don't want to say completion percentage is everything, because what you're doing, there's a little bit of more calculated risk in some of the things that you do, especially balls that are further down the field. But improve accuracy. Again, that's not completely tied to completion percentage, but there's an indicator there. And then just becoming a better distributor of the football, and then when it is the time to carry it, to be more productive as a runner.
I read this, and you can correct me, but junior day is coming up, correct? With recruiting wise?
I have to look, and I got to think here if I'm able to. Yes. I didn't say anything about a guy. Yes.
Are you able to bring them in to look at practice when they come in to take a look at how things are structured?
Absolutely. Maybe to go to a class or to look at practice or be involved in a meeting, most certainly.
Just when you look back on last season and you give the team a self-assessment, what's that one thing that sit and nod at you that you really wanted to get after with spring practice?
Want to have guys that are more experienced. I think you're always, when you're going to have good teams or when you're experienced and talented. You have to have both of that combination. And then just like I said, overall, just better execution.
Without having the bowl game and the extra practices, maybe it doesn't matter, but are you trying to cram a little bit more in with this spring football, or where's that at?
Probably not. I think there's just, with the outline of 15 practices, there's so much that you can do. And I think one of the keys, one of the things in the spring, there's a part of it. We want to look at a couple of different things that we're doing system-wise. In all three facets, we're always changing and morphing and, developing in terms of what we do with our system. Some of that's based upon the personnel we have coming in. Some of that may be on some studies that we've done of our own team or maybe on other squads. And but you also got to know, too, we don't ever want to compromise when it comes to being better at the basics. I mean, just blocking, taking a little bit better angles with our tackling part of it, but especially with our leverage and our coverage, and then being more consistent offensively.
And how about just the weather, the snow on the field? Does that hamper you guys at all?
It doesn't. We're big time fortunate to have the Holiday Athletics Center. I mean, that makes a huge difference in being able to make sure you have a quality training session. You're allowed 15 of them in the spring to try to make the most of each one of those 15.
And you mentioned the junior class. By my count, you're up to about 118 offers, at least guys saying they have an offer from Air Force in the class of 2020. Have you accelerated the clock on that?
I'll say in general, I think the clock is much, much more accelerated now than it was 5 years across the sport. I mean, you look, I think ever since it's become known and allowed that there could be April and May junior year visits, official visits, that has taken that clock and moved it forward. And, so much of it here is where guys academically. I used to try to wait until the end of their junior year. So you had 6 semesters to look at academically and maybe a little more when it comes to test scores. I do think some guys are taking a little bit better classes earlier in high school, so we're still able to work off 5 semesters, which is roughly the holidays, after that fall semester of their junior year. And they take ACTs and SATs a little bit earlier too.
Is there a lot more projection, though, that has to take place on your part to offer a guy that early?
I don't know if there's necessarily athletically, because you're still basing upon what you saw primarily during their junior year, the fall of their junior year. Now,
Yeah, and I'm not really talking athletically, because I would think athletically you can kind of see, but the other stuff that you mentioned,
that's still got to be there. We aren't going to extend unless an opportunity, unless somebody shows that they're clearly on a path to be able to make it here academically.
And in the past, when would the first offers have been extended?
Probably about the same time. It's roughly the same time.
Okay. And then injury-wise, do you think James Jones will be out there for spring ball?
Nope. The guy, nope, will not.
And Gary Mossop?
Nope.
Anybody else?
No. Guys that got dinged no.
Were there any guys who finished the season but then had some sort of operations or anything like that?
We'll see with how much Trey Bugg can do. We will see how much that he's won. We'll see how much with hand and a wrist, both him and Zane Lewis. We'll see where they are.
Oh, both corners. Okay. And then 2 spots seem pretty open just because veterans were there. Would be the spur linebacker and Z receiver. Do you have some names of guys we might want to watch over the next few weeks?
I think we will. I think we will pretty soon too. We get about a week. Get about 3 practices under our belt. I think we'll see a little bit where some guys are, and then also probably on the back half of spring when we do a little more of the scrimmage activity. I'll say this. I do think defensively, if you said open spots. How many are there? I think just 11. And offensively, I'd say there are 11.
See, I would think Jordan Jackson's a pretty good bet to play, but
That's where you're putting your money?
Okay, well, I think we'll see. Do you know the list of guys yet coming in for the pro day?
Not yet. We're still kind of simulating that when it comes based upon work schedules, being able to come back here, maybe the possibility where they're currently stationed, perhaps being able to work out where they are too. We will. It is on March 11th. On a Monday, March 11th is when it'll be. I want to say about 2 o'clock. I just don't hold it exactly 2 p.m. where they're on the field.